All right then. We are live on Sports Today, and with me, for those of you who do not follow too much tennis, because Vishal, as you know, plenty of our regular viewers are huge cricket fans, so we get a lot of cricket fans. But I can already see a few have tuned in. Harsh Jadhav has a question. कितने बजे है sir final? Final is at 2 p.m. Am I right, Vishal? Is
Yeah,
that correct?
2 p.m. in Standard Time. Yeah.
Okay, 2 p.m. Indian Standard Time. That is the first question answered. Jamie, do throw in your questions. I can see you are here. Mohit, if you have any questions, do throw in. We're building up to the Australian Open final. And with me is former Davis Cupper in Vishal Uppal. Firstly, Saturday is off for you, or were you at the tennis academy? What were you up to?
No, I was working all morning. I've had a long day. When
Ah,
weekends are busy because kids are off from school, so there are more kids out training.
oh. So does that mean you missed the Ash Barty final?
No, I didn't. I did the morning session today, and then I caught the Ash Barty finals, and that was a pretty interesting match. I mean, she came back from 5-1 down in the second set.
Ah.
So I think it was a pretty good comeback for her. It's never easy to play in such a big history-making match with the weight of expectations of the entire country. It's not easy, and
Yeah.
I think she's done a fabulous job. Yeah, so good on her.
Even though I love all sport, but you call me a cricket journalist, so we cricket journalists will also claim Ash Barty as our own, considering she was quite
Yeah,
a.
well, sure. Take that also. All the sponsorships you guys take this also. Next thing we'll know that she's such an incredible golfer that the golfing community will start claiming her as their own. So yeah.
You won't complain. You're a former tennis player, but you love your golf as well. So
Yeah,
you
I remember. I think it was when I started playing golf. Maybe it was 2010 or 2011, I think. And the PGTI, the Indian Golf Union, gave me an invite on the amateur tour because I was playing. In the press conference, and people asked me, have you stopped tennis and moved to golf? I said, tennis is my love. Golf is just a dangerous fling. So yeah, my fling continues.
We all know what happens with flings when it is between love and fling. I'm just going to make two comments, okay? We call them family members, huh? All our subscribers who join in. So Abhay Pratap Singh says, not only is she a cricket enthusiast, she's also played in the women's Big Bash League season 1. Abhay
Yes,
is
right.
pointing that out. That's correct. Prashant Sharma has a different take. I saw someone say Vamos Rafa. We'll get into Rafa versus Medvedev, and I'll take few of your questions. Adarsh Kumar, I've seen you already sent a question. I'll put that to Vishal and maybe he can answer. But before that, I had a question. Yeah, Prashant Sharma. This is on tennis, Vishal, but slightly away from the topic we'd be talking about. He says he's joining us from Belgrade. Prashant. He says I'm not happy about the disrespect of Djokovic. Huh? What did you make of the entire scenario before we get into the final?
Well, I think the way the whole issue was handled in it from the get-go was, I think, wrong. I think things should have been made very clear to Novak Djokovic that if you're not going to be vaccinated, you cannot play, because that's the rule for every other player. And you
Hmm.
can't, when you start cherry picking and start making exceptions to the rule, that's when people start acting up and saying, hey, why was I forced to get vaccinated? I didn't want to get vaccinated. Why was I forced to get vaccinated? So I think had Tennis Australia from the get-go made it very clear that if you're not vaccinated, you can't play, I think this unnecessary controversy would have been avoided. And because look, I mean, I'm sure, a lot of the people you would have interacted from Australia, cricket fans who were screaming. I know all my Aussie friends were screaming, saying, "What the hell? We're double vaccinated. We can't go meet our ailing family members, and here you're going to allow someone to come in unvaccinated and roam the streets of Melbourne like everything is cool." So I think the I wouldn't fault Djokovic as such, but yeah, Tennis Australia did make a mess of it.
Okay, you're right. Talking about the Australian fans, I mean, imagine when Medvedev even mentioned
Yes, there was a lot of
Djokovic.
booing. Yes,
Yeah, so
yes,
you
there
can
was a lot.
imagine how much the folks are not really happy with. But of course, there's a history as well. Apart from this episode, he's not the most loved tennis player. As much as I love watching him play, But
he may not be the most loved tennis player, but he's definitely one of the most respected tennis players. So,
oh,
and Australians are by nature big sports fans, so they will give Djokovic his due respect, come what may. I just think this particular episode has made him lose a lot more fans than he would have imagined. So.
Okay, a comment I'm taking from Karthik Chaudhary, who says Djokovic has wasted three Grand Slams due to out of court issues. Yeah, I think you're also talking about him getting suspended and all of that. That's fair point. But he has a question to Karthik Chaudhary. If Djokovic would have been here, it would have been Rafa versus Djoko. I think, Karthik, you're being a bit unfair to Medvedev. Huh? He actually goes in on the favor. What do you make of it, Vishal?
Is this a PG-13 show? Because then I would say. Because then I would say if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. I mean, we can only go into ifs and ands and pots and pans, and makes no difference now, does it? It's a hypothetical question, and you're quite right, Nikhil, because Danny Medvedev is definitely the toughest player to beat right now.
Okay, fair comment that I made. Even though Rafa the more experienced, and I think the crowd's going to be backing him without doubt. I think the crowd's going to be completely in favor of Rafa. Fair comment that Medvedev actually goes into this final as the favorite.
For me, a 51-49 favorite. Yeah, and I feel the longer this match goes, the more physical this match becomes. Medvedev will be in a better position to win this match because he's definitely looking the fitter and the faster of the two. Nadal has had some long matches, and so I think it will work well in Medvedev's favor if he can keep pushing this match longer, the points be as long as they can, because I think he can outlast Rafa physically.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think so. Also, do you think the age really makes a difference? It is at the end of the day a 35-year-old Nadal versus a 25-year-old Medvedev, and also I remember the last time these two played in the final was the US Open, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't forget that one comment that Medvedev lost, and when they showed that entire film on the giant screen of Rafa's previous titles. I remember Medvedev made a comment that while I was looking at that screen, I was wondering, what if I had won? What is it that they would have shown in terms of past titles? Because I've won nothing.
Yeah. And you have to also take into account the fact that this is not Medvedev's first Grand Slam final, so the nerves are not going to be an issue for him. He's won it. He knows how to win it, and he beat Djokovic. At the last US Open when Djokovic was going for that history-making slam, so he can definitely take the pressure, the heat. You're right. The crowd will be totally with Rafael Nadal, considering also the comments that Medvedev hasn't really done too much to win the crowd over the last fortnight. So I think he's going to play against Rafa and the crowd.
Okay, a few comments. Sarvesh Pandey saying, "Sir, when will you do a video on the downfall of Indian tennis?" He's been telling me for a long time. Sarvesh, I'll do it, and I'll definitely get Vishal on the show, and we'll try and get a few more folks as to what they're hinting.
I will give Sarvesh a quick answer to that. Sarvesh, while we may not be top heavy right now, we may not have one shooting star that is shining through, but I can tell you that the quality of Indian tennis and the depth of Indian tennis is far better than what it used to be. We have to build on that platform. That platform is there, and we have to start building on it. And I have been saying it for many years now, that everybody loves to criticize, but nobody wants to become a part of the solution. So let's become a part of the solution. See what you can do. See how you can contribute. See how you can help. Maybe get Nikhil and guys like Nikhil to do more shows on tennis. Make tennis a more popular sport, so that when the tennis guys go to sponsors, they have something to show the sponsor that yes, even we can get you eyeballs. There's a big thing going on in India right now. The India doesn't do any tournaments. We're trying to do tournaments. I'm trying to do tournaments, but every time I go to a sponsor, the only thing they say is, man, you can't give us eyeballs. And how do you compete with that? So I would say that and I say this to all fellow tennis players also. Let's try and be a part of the solution and not part of the critique committee. So let's do what we can do to get things better.
Okay. Kritik says Sumit Nagal is the only one. Kumar says Adarsh saying throw some light on the rise of Sumit Nagal. I'll try and pose this question towards the end of our discussion because I really want to focus on Rafa versus Medvedev because I'm getting a lot of final. Kritik is saying Medvedev was in final in 2018 and 2021 as well. Yeah, Karthik has an interesting question. Everyone's talking about Medvedev's that outburst against the umpire. He completely lost it in that semi-final. I don't know. He should have been fined for it. I think calling you're a low cat or something. I don't know what all he said. He said, "Are you listening to me? Are you dumb?" Various things. But do you think that aggression? Karthik's question is: do you think he needs to learn to control his aggression, or do you think that actually fuels his fire and he gets better with that?
Well, I think in this case it did fuel his fire because look at the way he played the next two sets. I mean, if you as an athlete or you as a tennis player or any other sport, you are going to get angry at some point in time, but you need to learn how to channelize that anger. And I think Danny Medvedev did a great job of channelizing that anger because look at the way he came back in the next two sets, and the fourth set he pretty much ran over Tsitsipas. So I think, and some may even call Danny Medvedev a crazy Russian, and you don't want to mess with the crazy Russian. So he is very dangerous. So if he and you're quite right, he can go either side of the pendulum. He can channelize that energy and really become the most unbeatable guy, or he can totally lose it and throw it away. So yeah, I mean, just depends on that day. In the semis, he channelized that energy quite well.
Okay. Few comments. Rushikesh Patil says Medvedev should win. Actually, Rushikesh, if you just joined our discussion, I think he's the overwhelming favorite, and I say that as a Rafa Nadal fan. I don't know, Vishal, if you know, and Vishal knows my extended family as well. In the entire family, I'm the only Nadal fan, and everyone is a Federer fan. So I've been sticking out for a very long time.
So what you're basically saying is your family is the one which has the better taste.
There's another Federer. Hey, at the end of the day, you're going to count the number of Grand Slams, huh? So if 21.
No, not at all. I'm going to count. I'm going to look at the end of the day where the GOAT discussion is. I'm going to look at who impacted the sport the most. And what Federer did was raise the bar so high that he forced guys like Nadal and Djokovic and Andy Murray for a brief period to catch up to him. Look at how that lifted world of tennis. Unbelievable.
I disagree. I'll tell you what, he got it so easy when none of these guys were around. He got those 7-8 slams so easy at the start, but there was nobody, no competition.
I'm sorry.
When he was fighting with Pete, Nadal, Pete, Djoko, that's when you really saw the difference between,
He dethroned Pete Sampras at Wimbledon.
Well, Pete Sampras at the end of his career.
I can make further counter arguments to you, which will be very technical, to the extent when these guys were coming up.
You're playing that card. Listen, I know
they played on 4 different surfaces. So now tennis is played practically every surface plays the same, slow, high bouncing. Even Wimbledon.
That's not Djoko's fault. That's not Nadal's fault.
What I'm saying is. The beauty of a sport like tennis was how you were challenged on different surfaces, where your weaknesses came to the fore. Right now, earlier, if a guy had a big serve and a big volley game, look, serve and volley is dead in tennis now. Why is that? It was such a beautiful art, and the beauty of tennis as a sport used to be to look at a Sampras go up against an Agassi, contrasting styles. So I mean, this is a much longer debate, but I think.
But my point is, you made valid points. I love watching Sampras versus Agassi, but I'm saying this has got nothing to do with the players themselves. They're playing the conditions that are on offer, and they're trying to excel at whatever is on offer.
I would love to see Djokovic and Rafael Nadal go up against big serve and volley players on grass court, faster grass courts, and let's see how your skill set comes up then.
Okay, so I have a comment just on that. His online name is Future Test Cricket Growth. He says Rafa would eat Sampras for breakfast. Okay, so that's the first comment that I've got from someone here.
For breakfast.
Yeah, I mean,
on clay court, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. On clay court, he will eat him for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and evening tea all put together. But if you were to play Sampras and Nadal on Wimbledon grass when Sampras was playing, Nadal wouldn't even get a set of Sampras.
Okay, so fine. So I'm saying, why is it that the grass court skill is rated higher than the clay court skill? Fine. So in one area, Nadal's superior, the other Sampras. So let's even it out on that front. I mean, you
That's
cannot
what I
put
said
grass
was the
higher.
beauty of tennis. That's what I said was the beauty of tennis, the
Okay,
contrast.
we'll do this debate if he reaches 21. If he reaches 21, then we'll do who's the greatest of them all, and we'll get Vishal, and we get 3-4 more voices.
Roger
That we,
Federer.
uh, okay, but is he getting to okay, so what does a Rafa has to do? And I said overwhelming favorite, but you put it very close, 51-49. I'm just looking at a Rafa right now. I think he himself seemed like it from the semi-final, surprised himself that he's reached the final. After the lead up to this tournament, his health issues, his injury issues, got corona. I think he may have come to this event just to get warmed. I mean, sure, he's a competitor. Sure, he's one of the top players who wants to win a title. But I think he surprised himself just reaching the final.
No,
With,
don't fool yourself. He's one heck of a competitor. He came here to win. He didn't come here to find form. He didn't come here to get his matches going. He came here to win. And he may say or project that, oh, I'm surprised, but he's not, because that's what he expects himself to do. He expects himself to be in the finals playing for the Australian Open, and he's put himself in the perfect position to do so.
That's interesting. Okay. Why is it that you say 51-49? Is it the Medvedev serve? Is it the mental resolve that Medvedev is showing? Is it the fact that he beat Djokovic recently, who looked invincible up until the time the Medvedev beat him? Why have you put him ahead?
So the reason why I put him ahead is because I think physically he can last longer right now. Nadal might struggle physically if the match goes into 3 hours, 4 hours, 4.5 hours. Nadal might start, suffering a lot more than Medvedev. The only reason why I'm putting it so close is because I think Nadal still is a far more matured and tougher fighter on court than Medvedev is. Medvedev is like a loose cannon; he can go off at any time. And if he's not able to curb that explosion and channelize it in the right way, that will only do well for Nadal. That's why I'm calling it such a close thing, because the mental edge I will give Nadal, but the physical edge I'll give Medvedev. That's why I think it's a toss-up. I think if Medvedev gets up ahead 2-0, I mean, it's match is over 4 sets. I don't see Nadal coming back in 5. So Nadal really has to get ahead. He has to, take the lead and try and finish this match in 3 or 4 sets, because 5 sets could be tough for him to win.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you so much for your kind comments about the platform. We'll try and give you more comments, more content like this. But just on that subject of Rafa, you said, if it goes longer, the younger player in Medvedev might win. How did you then see that Shapovalov match in which actually did go to 5 sets, and Rafa still managed to pull it off? Was it his experience that came into play? And if it did, why can't he use the same sort of strategy against Medvedev if it has to go to the 5th set?
I think in that match, Shapovalov's lack of experience was the difference. Not Nadal's experience, but Shapovalov's lack of experience. Because if you see, after the 4th set, when Nadal took that break, and Shapovalov literally lost his head, lost his cool, and he couldn't really. And professional tennis is so competitive and so tough. If you lose your focus even for a couple of minutes, the whole match changes. And you can't allow that to happen. And that's exactly what happened in that match. He just did not regroup at the start of the 5th set, and he let Nadal get ahead. And that was that. And, then his frustrations kept growing. So I think that match was more attributed to Shapovalov's lack of experience, because Nadal did what he had to do to try and win that match.
Some very interesting comments. One from a future test cricketer who calls himself says, I'm a fan of both Dravid and Rafa, as both are similar players. Is that a fair comparison? I guess what he's trying to allude to is the fact that both are, grafters, hardworking, may not be aesthetically the most best looking batsman and tennis player, but the kind of heart that they have. Is that a fair comparison? Dravid is Nadal, and maybe Sachin could be Federer. I don't know whether that's fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could see why that that similarity would be there, because both are grinders. Both are resilient. They're not going to cave in too much, and they stay very disciplined. So I think, yeah, that similarity can be seen in both the players, and yeah, I might disagree with that.
Shravan Kumar has a question. Which rivalry is greater, Rafa versus Federer or Rafa versus Novak? Once again, Rafa features in both.
Yeah, because the one after Federer was Rafa, and I think Rafa versus Federer is the greater rivalry for the simple reason of what it did to the sport of tennis. The way that elevated, the sport, because most people thought after the Sampras era, after the Agassi era, there might be a little lull. But the way, Federer and then Federer versus Rafa has taken the sport to newer, greater heights, I think their rivalry is definitely the better one.
Hmm. Sahil Verma says Nadal knows in his heart this is it. This is my golden opportunity to win Australian Open. My heart says Rafa. I'm a diehard Rafa fan, but brain says Medvedev. Okay, so I'm just looking at these two factors. Vishal, we heard from Rafa where he said that yeah, people are going to talk about the 21st, but that's not what defines my happiness. The fact that I competed with the best, the fact that I live my dream, that the fact that I've got 20 slam is what makes me happy. If I didn't reach 21, that's not going to affect me. But we know this may be posturing. I'm sure it's going to play on his mind. As you said, he's come here to win. So 21st on his mind. On the other hand, I look at Medvedev. You're right, he's won a slam, but he's going to be number one. And to be number one, I think that will be in Medvedev's mind. So who do you think, I mean, both under pressure and sometimes because you're going to achieve something so big, it might just hamper your game. Who do you think would be more under pressure with this in mind?
I think both of them are going to block out all this stuff because they're too experienced to, allow this to, hamper their preparations or their mindset. They're both going to try and win, and their only focus will not be at what is at the end of the match, but what is happening during the match. And that's what professional athletes do. They focus on playing the match. They're going to be focusing on how they can get the better of the other person, because the trophy is at the end of the match, right? And
Yep.
and if you want to become successful, you have to block out all these thoughts and processes. And look, Medvedev knows becoming number one in the world really doesn't. He may not become this tournament. He'll make it the next tournament. But it's about winning Grand Slams. That's we're not talking about who was number one in the world maximum weeks in his career. We're talking about who's going to win the maximum number of Grand Slams. So it's about Grand Slam wins. And I think these guys are too experienced now to let any of that affect them. I have to agree with Rafa where he says that I don't think he's posturing. I think he truly believes that he is just trying to win another Australian Open, and if he's able to do that, then the grand prize is number 21. But in order to do that, he has to focus on the task at hand and make sure he implements his game plan. So he has to live in the present and not really go in the future.
Okay. Shravan has a comment here I can read. He says, because Vishal, you spoke about, you look at what a player brings to the table. So he says, personally, Rafa's energy actually made me fall in love with the sport. So for him, it was Rafa who, brought a lot to the table, and he started loving tennis because of him. Then we've got MS once said he is a Rafa fan because of being number two in the most part of his career. He defeats Federer and Djokovic. Adarsh is saying, I think MS, by MS you mean MS Dhoni. I didn't quite get that. Okay, Ujjwal Chopra says Nadal overwhelming favorite as he uses experience to push long rallies. I think, yeah, that's a valid point. I think he's going to do that. I was reading a stat somewhere, a very analytical sort of piece, Vishal, which was talking about the longer the rally goes, that's what Rafa has been winning. Even mid-long rallies, Rafa wins. But that may be true for everyone else. May not really work with Medvedev. Would you agree?
You know what they say about stats. Stats hide more than they reveal.
Correct.
So while I would agree with that stat, with a younger Rafa, with an older Rafa, and the way Danny Medvedev is playing, I wouldn't count that stat at all. I wouldn't even look at that stat, because look at the way Danny Medvedev has been playing his matches. Even against Tsitsipas and stuff like that. These guys were smacking the ball, and they were long rallies. And at the end of those long rallies, you could see Tsitsipas was hurting physically, and Medvedev was like nothing happened. So I think maybe a younger Rafa, a Rafa at 25 versus a Medvedev at 25, I would give Rafa the edge in the longer rallies, but not today. I think the longer this match goes, the more it'll favor Danny Medvedev.
All right. Okay. Oh, you know who's live with us? Our good friend Sameep Rajguru. He's live. I can see him. You know what he's commented, Vishal. He says Rafa is the goat because Rafa beat the best his contemporaries FedEx and Novak at their peak, and no one did that as compared to Rafa. So he's just chipping in with his comment. We have taken it. Thank you, Sameep, for your comment and joining in. But we must have this debate. I'll try and get more and more people. This will be a very, very interesting debate in terms of, everyone picking who their goat is. Okay, so 2 o'clock, Nadal should try to start the match with high note and use his experience. Kritik says absolutely because Vishal mentioned it. The best chance for Nadal is to start the match on a high, win that first set, because if it goes on till the fifth, he thinks that it'll be the younger legs of Medvedev that will triumph. Okay, I think I've taken all your comments. I know a lot of you have sent questions about, some have sent even about golf, some have sent about doubles, tennis in general. Today is not the time for me to, get those questions answered by Vishal, but for sure, I will do a show on, Indian tennis, and then I'll take it. Shubham Kokche has an interesting comment. He says it's going to be oh my god, too many questions. It's going to be Rafa's forehand versus Medvedev's backhand. What do you make of that, Vishal? Fair assessment?
Uh, I mean, Rafa's forehand definitely is one of the best forehands in the world, and Danny Medvedev is no slouch with his backhand. But I don't think you can just say forehand versus backhand. I think it's going to be legs versus legs and heart versus heart, because both can hit the ball really well of both the flanks. Both can serve really well. I think it's just going to be a question of who can keep it together mentally and whose legs are going to last longer.
Okay. We've got someone like was it a Snake Output is his online name. He says, unfortunately, Nadal won't be getting 21st and Med won't be getting his number 2 because no close tournament can be a Grand Slam. Hopefully, the Australian working class will wake up and get their tyrannical government out. Okay. That's a political comment. I'll leave that aside. Sahil Verma says, in Australian Open, Novak has been Rafa's nemesis. He's absolutely right. Without him, if Rafa can't do it, then it'll be really, really sad. Lost the finals in 12, 14, 17, 19, and I hope it's not this time around. In 22 also, he hopes he doesn't. Actually, you're right. This has been that one heartbreaking Grand Slam for Nadal. I remember that match, which arguably will be the greatest Australian Open final. Federer versus Nadal, where I think Nadal was 3-1 up in the fifth and still went on to lose that. And I think Novak also played a very long final against Rafa. He's always been the bridesmaid in this tournament. Do you think that sort of a history now will be broken in this time around, or is his best chance to do that with no Novak around?
He's getting a taste of his own medicine to what he's done to people at the French Open. But I think, look, like I said, it's a 51-49 match. It can go either way. And Nadal, he's in the final. He's not going to be in too many more finals, as he grows older. So, this is a great chance for him to try and get to 21. And he knows that his work is cut out because Danny Medvedev, by no stretch of imagination, is a pushover. And I think it's going to be a phenomenal match, and it's going to be great watching this finals.
Okay, final question to you before I let you go, Vishal, and this has come from Ronak Raj. He wanted I mentioned it briefly in our discussion as well. I spoke about Medvedev's aggression. He wanted to know, what did you make of it? And in general, we've seen, I think Shapovalov as well was very nasty, where he called him, I don't know, I forget, cheat or something. He used a very derogatory sort of a word, which he apologized for it later. But in general, players really losing it with the chair umpire. And do you think chair umpires need to be given some more power to take some sort of action, or it's going to get progressively worse then?
Well, I think there is definitely a sense of frustration amongst the players, where they feel that the top guys are given a longer leash than anyone else is, and that's quite understandable. Obviously these players have earned their respect, but I still feel the rules have to be implemented the same for everyone. And you can't allow a Rafa to take 32, 33 seconds between serves, points. I think the umpires have to keep a more fairer, more tighter leash on the matches. But I also think that if a player has an outburst, so be it. It's okay. It's fine. It's great. I think it's great to watch that. You have to see the human side of players also. I mean, it would be so boring if players had to play like damsels in distress or something of the sort. They have to be coy all the time. I love guys with personality. I want people out there. I want to see a fight. I don't want to see I don't want to see, hello, how are you, why don't you win this match, kind of a scenario. I want to see a fight. That's what makes sport interesting. That's what makes rivalries interesting across all sport. You have to have that passion. And if players have an outburst, great. Let's see some personality. We need more people with personality playing the sport.
Okay, I'm going to wind up. I'll take a few comments before, and there's one comment that I know Vishal will really like. Sarvesh says, "Sir, please continue doing these shows and not only cricket." So I'm sure Vishal would love this comment. That's why
I
I
think
took it. And KD Rajput says, he says temperament will play a crucial role. If Medvedev loses it in the middle, which he does more often than not, then it is Nadal's match to win. But I agree with Vishal where he says, I also love characters. I love a Kyrgios as well. Whatever people might say, I love a Medvedev. I love Shapovalov. I mean, you need characters. That's what makes a sport very, very interesting. Adarsh says, Rafa's forehand spin versus Medvedev's weakness on the net. I mean, those are few things that you'll have to look at. That's a fair point too. It's at 2 p.m. tomorrow on Sunday. So we'll try. I don't know. I'll check with Vishal later if he's up to it after the match tomorrow. We'll try and bring him back and then we can talk about the final. Maybe he can give us some insight. Jamie Vardy, we're lucky to have the Jamie Vardy of Leicester City join us. I'm sure it's his online name. But he says Rafa 21. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining us and sharing your opinion. Vishal, thank you so much for taking out time. I know you have a dinner to go to, so I'll let you go and I'll check with you if you're free tomorrow, because considering how many people tuned in and they really enjoyed the discussion, I'll see if maybe post the final on Sunday. That should be done by, I think, if it doesn't go for 5 hours, maybe 3-4 hours. That should be this time
Nikhil,
around.
if you're gonna do a show on tennis, I'm gonna clear my schedule.
Okay. That's perfect. So a treat in store for everyone on Sports Today. Tomorrow we'll come after the final. Me and Vishal talk about. Let's see where the match goes. But as Vishal said it, he said 51-49 in favor of Medvedev. I agree with him. I may even say 55-45. I think Medvedev starts as the clear favorite in this final. But thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Vishal, thanks once again. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, everyone.